This is the Balanced Growth Show with Dr. Travis Perry, helping successful business professionals like you achieve balance in their lives.
Welcome to another episode of the Balanced Growth Show. I'm your host, Dr. Travis Perry. Today we have Grandmaster Paul Melella. He's a seventh degree black belt and the co-author of the best-selling book, You Have Infinite Power. He's the founding partner of United Martial Arts Centers, an empowered mastery that works primarily with professionals and entrepreneurs to provide his clients with the necessary tools and mental fortitude to live a life of passion and purpose in all areas of life. He spent the last 27 years traveling the world, studying the most influential leaders of peak performance, personal growth, and healthy living. Thanks for joining us, Paul.
Yes, sir. Grateful to be here. Thank you for the opportunity.
Absolutely. I always like to hear your story, and you do have a fascinating one as we've been chatting in the pre-show here about what you've done as a grandmaster, martial artist, and now how you're helping to influence entrepreneurs out in the world. But I'll let you tell that story. How'd you get to where you're at, my friend?
I guess the earliest one is, when I was 7 years old, I was bullied as a kid. I had a childhood bully that lived on my block, was in my second grade class, rode the bus with me. His name was Tommy Gonzalez, and he beat me up every day. And finally, my parents were like, that's it, you're joining martial arts. And very secretly, I took martial arts for about 6 to 9 months and developed some confidence, some self-esteem, and learned a little bit about self-defense at the time. And here I am getting off the school bus on my parents' neighborhood on Cherry Lane in this suburban town of Putnam Valley, New York. It's about 50 miles north of Manhattan. And Tommy tried to pick a fight with me, and there was nobody there to protect me. I had a little quarter-mile walk down that road to get to my parents' house. I remember vividly this older boy, Matt Musicar, sat there and wouldn't stick up for anybody. And, I went into this little fighting stance, and Tommy laughed at me, and I fake low went high, popped him in his nose, and he never picked on me ever again. Ironically, we became childhood best friends. Even funnier story, I was his best man in his wedding. Even funnier story, I was his best man in his second wedding. And I thank him every day for beating on me, because if he didn't, I would have never taken martial arts. And that led me to falling in love with it. And then being a competitor, being an athlete, being a fighter, falling in love with coaching, and then ended up teaching martial arts to help other kids to develop the confidence and self-esteem that instilled in myself. And then at a very young age, managing and operating a martial arts school. By the time I was at 17, 18, I was teaching since I was 14. And then at 21 years old, I had an opportunity to purchase my original teacher's martial arts school. And unfortunately, my parents didn't have a lot of money. I'm the oldest out of 5, and dad is a blue-collar electrician. Mom had the hardest job, staying home, raising 5 children. And the one thing my pop did is, at the time, my old instructor and boss was building a brand new home. And my dad is very handy. By the way, I am not. That skipped a generation. I don't own a tool. And my dad did about $40,000 worth of work in my old boss's home. And I took over this business back in 1995 or 96. And I was doing everything I thought was right to build up that business, but nothing was working. And I had a mentor of mine who I'm still close with today, a multimillionaire, gave me this book, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. I'm sure you read it. I'm sure people that are listening read it. And still to this day, it's highlighted. I read it every year. It's next to my little meditation pillow. And I reference that along, with some other good material. And that book changed my life. Here I was, this young entrepreneur. I never finished college. And I got addicted to personal growth. And I started literally studying some of the most influential leaders and peak potential coaches over the past 27, 30 years. I've probably spent $400,000 or $500,000 in personal development. Still invest in myself, even though I'm a coach. I have coaches that I pay to work with me. And in a very short amount of time, I took some of the principles and I applied them to a martial art business that was going under. Right, it only had about 20 students at the time. My boss was going to close it down, and then we took it over. And I built it very humbly, right, to become one of the top martial arts schools in the country, based on revenue. I was interjecting this personal development philosophy into the business. We weren't just teaching martial arts, punching, kicking. We're teaching like mindset and character values, and literally like the business grew, and parents would listen and to what I was teaching their kids, and they were joining. And then all of a sudden, people were like, "Oh my goodness, what you taught me, Grandmaster Melella, it changed my life. I lost all this weight. My attitude's different." And I got offered a partnership in my firm. I doubled my income. I'm like, "Oh my goodness, like this is amazing. How can I help more people? How can I help more people?" We did replicate the model, and I was very fortunate enough to purchase my commercial real estate, and we had 4 locations still. I was able to influence more people through the multiplication of martial arts schools, but I wanted to help more people. And so what ended up happening, we were talking to somebody and they said, "Hey, you have to write a book." And so my partner, or my good friend, Chris Burlow, Grandmaster Chris Burlow, and I were brainstorming how we can improve. Ironically, my student, Nick Palumbo, was my financial advisor. I was his martial art teacher. He was a very successful entrepreneur and financial advisor, about 15 years my senior. And I wanted to get into his network. Ironically, I was going to take this course. I did take this course. I'm sure you're familiar with Bob Proctor. He just recently passed away not too long ago. And I joined Bob Proctor's program. He's one of the mentors that I studied under. Obviously, Tony Robbins was a huge influence on my life. And we ended up writing. Well, before that, my mentor Nick, I was sharing with him I wanted to be like a life coach. I wanted to be a business coach. And he goes, "Me too," right? And we started brainstorming, and the 3 of us created this company, Empowered Mastery, except we all had our businesses right at the same time. I owned martial arts schools. My partner, Chris, owned martial arts schools. Nick had a very successful financial advisory business, right? And he goes, "Listen, I have a best friend that is a multimillionaire. He's retired, and he'd be perfect to bring in." And so this man, Rick Wallman, came in, and the 4 of us created this company. And then we co-authored this book, You Have Infinite Power. All of us had completely different backgrounds, personalities, but we had a vision of leading, teaching, inspiring, business professionals and business leaders to think differently, a little bit of a martial art, mindset with a little bit of entrepreneurial, and very congruent with your message. You used to call it, right, obviously achieving balance. I like to call it multidimensional success. And when we started sharing this message out into the business world, right? Nice. And now my other 2 partners double retired since then, and now my partner Chris and I operate Empowered Mastery. But I have the distinct honor to work with mostly either financial advisors, entrepreneurs, and business leaders to create this multidimensional success within their life. And there's a lot of people that I work with that are making a significant amount of money. Yeah. But I'm this bold coach to go, "Listen, I know you're making 7 figures, but with all due respect, do I have permission to share?" They go, "Of course, coach." I go, "Well, you're divorced twice, you're 40 pounds overweight, and you don't see your kids. I don't think you're successful, right? So let's create those other areas of your life. I don't care if you're Ferrari, but if you have 3 flat tires, man, your car doesn't drive." So now I am the past 2 to 3 years, I'm retired from my martial art business. I still own them. My managing partners, who were my students since they were little kids, operate those locations. My brother, who is 9 years my junior, is also my business partner. And we own the properties together as well, which I'm very grateful for. He is overseeing the martial art organization. Now I'm in Charleston, South Carolina, and I do phone coaching, keynote speaking, and I'm getting to do what I absolutely love, which is coach and teach. I'm just not in the martial art uniform and teaching kids and families. I'm more or less in a nice custom suit and, working with business leaders. Right. So it's Yes, sir. But that's kind of in a big picture, my story.
I love it. Back to the impetus to all of this. Why is Tommy always a bully name, and why do all bullies pick on kids in a bus?
I don't know that. I don't know that answer. We can go back and laugh about it. And I'm still very close with him currently. He's a school teacher in the Bronx, and we joke about it. But we psychoanalyze a lot. And unfortunately, at the time, his dad was an alcoholic. He did recover, and he's now passed on. But then, the dad was beating up on the older brother, and the older brother was beating down on him. And then he had someone else to beat down on. And, it's a cycle. And as we grew up and we are, olders and we're educators and coaches, and he ended up actually being a part of our family. Like, my parents had 5 kids. Cool. When his dad died, his mom left him when he was 12. My parents took a little TV room we had in our house and made it his bedroom on college breaks. He lived with us. So he's almost like a brother to us, right?
That's cool.
But I don't know the answer of why Tommy is bullied, but we know why he was bullying as we go back and we reflect, right?
Well, it's great that you guys can do it. And the fact that you're best friends and you were his best man twice, not once, but twice. It says a lot about the two of you, and it just brought me back to little elementary school and the bus rides. And I think it's like a male thing. Like, you beat up some dude or they beat you up, and then all of a sudden you're best friends. It's like you have more in common than you think. And
that's right.
I can tell you several times that's happened in my life, and it's great to hear that. But I see how that was an impetus into everything that you've done, that you've been able to move forward. You're family supportive. You're very supportive of family, very healthy, and focus on that as part of your training of helping people live, their most important and empowered life. So I appreciate the story, man. Let's talk about how you've been able to grow your business. Balance is obviously important to you. That's why we're talking about it today. But why is it important that when you're growing a business that you have great balance?
That's a great question. And I really do believe that everything is intertwined. I really do. Right. Like, even like our logo, right, from Empowered Mastery, it's right. Everything's intertwined. Right. So, if, as a man, right, if things are bothering me professionally or financially, it's weighing down on me, right? Mentally, emotionally, psychologically, about my self-worth, my confidence. What does that do? That can affect how I am with my wife, right? And then it can also affect how I deal with my kids out of frustration or out of stress level, right? I also believe that a lot of people that I work with, including myself, and I'm sure you're the same way, I believe we're high performance race car engines, right? And so we have to be full tilt. Like, here we are, like, I'm putting out and pouring so much energy out into business, into our clients, and giving them love and inspiring and listening. And guess what? When that turns off, I have to have the same level of energy for my kids, right? Or later on with my wife, right? And so the health component for me personally, that is my number one area. Like, besides my relationship with God, I hope it's okay, but I am a Christian. And so that's really important part of my life, and my family and my wife. And that's one of the reasons why we moved to Charleston, South Carolina, because, the holy city is real here. And, but my wife, Gina, knows that health is number one for me. Right. And it's like, we go on the plane, they don't say, take the oxygen mask and put it on your kid. They say, no, take it, put it on you before you put it on your other kid, on your family, your loved ones. So Gina knows, my wife knows, I have to focus on my health first. Now, I believe there's many levels of health. You and I were talking. I believe there's external health. I'm a physique competitor now, later on in life. And I do very care much how I look when I take off my shirt, with 100% without a doubt. But there's also internal health, like on how we are inside. So I could be physically fit, but internally I'm not healthy on the inside. But there's also mental health, there's spiritual health. You and I were talking about relational health. It's all involved, right? And so for me personally, and I'm not here to superimpose my values on any one of the areas of life, but for me, I can have the best wife, great kids, great business, earn lots of money. But if I'm sick, if I have a disease or God forbid cancer or a heart attack, it doesn't mean anything. Doesn't mean anything. So that to me is number one. Most of the people I work with, I'm seeding that if it's not already a priority in their world, right? And so I'm making sure that they know that health, vitality, longevity is and should be extremely important in your world. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to be the leader you need to be for your family, for your clients, and you're not going to be able to make a big impact for a longer period of time. And so that's really important in my particular world.
Yeah, I particularly love that you focus on this internal and external aspect of health, and it is all connected. We were talking about this in the pre-show, but something that you mentioned there really stands out to me, and it's no shocker. As you know, I was doing some research on you and your book and what it is that you're all about. Like, health is your number one. For so many people, when we talk about balance, we look at what are their highest priorities, what are their most important things that they do. And most of the time it is health for people that I've interviewed, especially financial advisors. Yet financial advisors, no offense, guys, gals, maybe a little bit better at this, but a lot of us, and I say us because I'm a former financial advisor, like we kind of put that on the back burner. As an entrepreneur, I know a lot of entrepreneurs put their health on the back burner, saying, I'll get to it later, something that I know I need to work on, but they just don't do it. And that is not great. When we talk about compounding interest, we can talk about money all day long. That compounding effect of neglecting your health is detrimental. So I'm excited that not only is that important for you, but that you're out there, being an example of it. As you said, late in life, being a competitive bodybuilder, but being able to then help others with their health is incredible. As an entrepreneur, as you have personally been scaling your business, what would you say are some of the biggest struggles for you to grow that business without losing that sense of balance that you just described?
Yeah. So the way my mind's wired, I still have like two different business models, right? I have my martial art organization and I have this company, Empowered Mastery. When I focus on the martial art industry, the hardest part is obviously systems are important. You're replicating you, right? Or you're replicating a process, right? So I did not call my martial art organization Melella's Martial Arts. I just knew that at 21 years old that I didn't want to name it after me. And no offense to anyone who has a business named after themselves, kudos to you. I just had a different vision. I knew I wanted to create something bigger and, have other people, be inspired about a bigger picture, right? So what the struggle, I believe, to answer the question is, and again, I don't know if this is a generational thing right now, is I come from a different mold. I'm 40 currently when we're filming this, I'm 49, right? And I grew up in the 80s. you know what I mean? So I have like, who are your idols? You have like Chuck Norris, Sylvester Stallone, Arnold Schwarzenegger. I literally just watching the documentary Arnold, right, on Netflix, Arnold Schwarzenegger. Like, it's amazing, his mindset, what he went through. I don't know if you watched this yet. I'm giving this a plug. I have no benefit to it, but growing up in that era, it's grit, man. Ronald Reagan was our president. Like, this is like how I was raised, and you work hard. I'm from a blue collar family, and which, my dad is not entrepreneurial. I am. I wanted to prove to my dad that I could be a business owner and have it all, where he didn't open up a business because his perception, his paradigm was, if I open a business, I won't be around for my kids. But these days, the hardest thing is really a younger generation. Hopefully I'm answering your question, is getting them to believe about what's out there, like to work for it, right? They want things instantly, man, right? Because you're on your phone, it's everything is so fast food, instant this, Google this. Like there's the law of gestation that they don't know about. Like everything has a gestation period. Napoleon Hill said there's no such thing as something for nothing. And a lot of my perception, not everybody, is that they expect things without putting in the work, right? And that is my hardest struggle right now. And it's so funny. I'm a martial art geek, so I grew up kind of like the Cobra Kai dojo, if you kind of know what that is, right? My original teacher was literally like Instructor John Kreese. And when he passed away, I had the distinct honor, and who still is my teacher and mentor, Grandmaster Byung-Min Kim, who is like my Mr. Miyagi. So I have like best of both worlds and how I was raised and actually how I think. So even though I think I have like an energy, a yang energy, there's also an energy. I have like a Cobra Kai energy, and I have a Mr. Miyagi energy. And I'm doing my best to be empathetic and connect to this younger generation. But at the same time, with all due respect, they need a kick in the what, right? To really learn about grit, hard work, effort, perseverance, adversity, because they give up too quick and they expect things for nothing. That has been my struggle as a business owner, working with growing an organization. As far as the balance, for me, it's not even a non-negotiable. Like my training and my health, my meditation, and how that health component, it's like breathing. Like we don't think twice about breathing. That's how I view health, regardless of what's going on in my business or finances, or even when COVID hit. You can imagine what that was like, owning martial arts schools in the state of New York. We are talking previously before we went live, and how much money I lost in 5 months, right? And so, but my training didn't stop. Like when the gyms closed, I was outside with dumbbells and bands and running hill sprints and pull-up bars. And I actually got in better shape during COVID, leaner, stronger, right? It inspired me. Plus, guess what? It actually, and not to say I wasn't in a bad space, because I was for a little bit, right? A lot of it. But because of this personal development philosophy, because of my meditation, because of my training, it actually helped me get out of that pit, as I call it, and it kept my balance. It kept my foundation, that and my relationship to God. Right. So, and my family. And I'm very fortunate that I have a wife that is just an unbelievable human being. Like she is my rock. Sorry.
Okay.
Our relationship got stronger during COVID. Where most people probably would have, the financial struggles and challenges, probably would have went through some shit, and excuse my French, and quit. And actually, it skyrocketed our relate. And we're married 23 years. We're together since August 8th, 1996. Right. So she was only 19, I think, when I picked her up. Right. So, but that's basically a non-negotiable for me.
Yeah, I love that. And again, it highlights, your non-negotiables, your highest priorities in life. Not only are they, non-negotiable for you, like you just do them regardless of what circumstances come, but I'm also hearing from you that they've been your greatest strength, right? To have your
Yes,
physical health, to have that relationship with God and that relationship with your spouse and your family. These are the things that when I ask people in an audience, when I do keynotes, to stand up on what their highest priorities are in life, those are the 4 areas that they say, Mr. Grandmaster. Like this is something that I have found to be consistent with those who are really in tune with what balance is. So I really appreciate you mentioning that. Do you find that those areas, when you put forth the effort, that they help bring you back into balance? Because that's what I'm kind of piecing together. And I don't want to put words in your mouth, But this is what I'm hearing. He's like, they supported you, but they've also kind of been a saving grace.
So my wife, is they ever see these Snicker commercials where they're angry and they eat the Snickers? Not that I eat Snickers, by the way, and they're all happy again, right? Like, Gina will go train, and I come back. I'm like, hey, how y'all doing? Like, she's like, oh, you're back. You know what I mean? You're
totally, totally. I love it.
So she knows me. Now we train together. We have a very great, like, we're best friends. My wife's my best friend. I could honestly say that. And we have a lot in common, and we love training. Like last night, literally, I had to drive up to North Carolina for my son has lacrosse training. And I did some early cardio because the hotel had, a crappy gym. So I was able to do, treadmill training, but there was no I need a real gym. And I got home at 7:30 at night last night, and I'm messaging my wife, hey, ETA 7:30. I didn't get my training in. It's a leg day. Are you in? She's like, I got you. Pull up. My son helps unload our Jeep. Gina's in the Jeep. We're at the gym at 7:35 because the gym's right in here in our community. And we trained legs last night, but she's right there supporting, so she's on the same page. We're very fortunate. All our areas of life and our values are extremely congruent, especially now we're in the season where the kids are both in high school. It's like we're like dating again. Like we don't have toddlers, you know what I mean? So it's like, oh my goodness, what do you want to do? You want to go train? You want to go for a walk? You want to go to the beach? And it's a wonderful season of life. And but yes,
Wonderful.
without a doubt, it is my trigger, right? For me personally.
Yeah. I love it. You train and you coach, you speak for so many entrepreneurs, especially financial advisors, which this podcast reaches, a large percentage of our financial advisors are related to the industry somehow. And obviously entrepreneurs. What advice would you give them as you're scaling and growing your business to be able to keep that balance that's so important to them?
Well, when they're scaling, if I have to imagine, right, and most of the advisors I work with, there's going to be one of a couple things on how they're going to operate their business. They're going to be a solo advisor, and they're going to do their best to do it all, which I don't agree with, right? Everyone's got unique strengths and talents. So I'm sure there's all these motive assessment tests that people could take. So we have our clients, and we're also affiliated with Kathy Kolbe. I'm sure you know Kathy Kolbe, Kolbe A Index. So all my clients take the Kolbe A Index. And so right from there, I kind of know where they are with their mode of operation. Now, I'm a high quick start. I'm an 8 quick start. I'm a 7 follow through. I'm like a 4 fact finder. I'm a 2 implementer. Like I don't own a tool, by the way. Like I'd rather stick pencils in my eyes before I do anything manual labor wise, right? Took me a long time to actually be okay with that. I thought I wasn't a man if I wasn't outside building stuff, but Frank Sinatra didn't move pianos, right? So in any event, I asked my clients to take the Kolbe A Index. Actually, there's a link off our website. My partner, Chris, is a facilitator, and we do synergistic reports for teams. And if they don't have a team, what we're doing is we're identifying what their unique talents are. Now, most advisors, if I had to guess, are pretty entrepreneurial on their high quick starts, and they suck at following through and implementing. So to scale a business, right, there's a front stage and there's a backstage, right? And I learned this from Dan Sullivan, strategic coach. I don't know if you're familiar. 25 years ago, I was a student of his. And you're a front stage advisor, and then there's a backstage. In any client experience, both of these are extremely valuable. So as the advisor, why don't we focus on your unique strengths and abilities, and let's just get you to talk to your clients, do your opens, do your closes. Most of my clients have like 3 to 5 meetings in their process, right? And let's invest and hire an assistant for backstage. That is like minimum. That's like white belt level. Like you're an advisor, you need an assistant. Depending on how they want to grow their business or scale, There's one team that I work with is Prosperity and Wealth, and they're actually under Strategies for Wealth umbrella in Manhattan. They have a phenomenal organization, right? And they have multiple proteges underneath them, right? And so here's this, team leader, and then he had everyone has a mentor, and then you have a protege, right? And what they do is they replicate that, and then their team right now is comprised of backstage people, front stage people, junior advisors, top advisors. And you know this, right? You're going to identify your A, B, and C clients. And then we want to work with our A clients as much as possible, because that's where our best ROI is. Not that where we don't want to impact all those people. But hey, when I was in martial arts, I identified, hey, I don't want to teach the 4 and 5-year-olds anymore. I love teaching, but I can hire one of my instructors for $15-20 an hour in high school or college to teach this lower level student, and I'm going to work with the black belts and the leadership and the people that pay this higher level tuition. You know what I mean? And that's really the mindset. So in order to scale your business, you have to identify your strengths, and you're going to have to learn how to delegate and hire and invest in your business so you can focus in on. My rule is 70-80% of your day or your week should be allocated to what I call your energy related activity, your surgery, right? Your surgery related stuff. And I break it down to 3 different categories. You have energizing activity, you have live with activity, and you have draining activity. And like the draining activity, when I have clients do inventory assessments on their time, majority of their activity is draining. You know what I mean? And like the least amount of their time is allocated to the stuff that they absolutely love. Let's reverse that, man. Let's get you to do 80% of surgery, you know what I mean? And then do less of the draining, and let's delegate. Once guys or gals do that, man, their business skyrockets. And it is just unfortunately a paradigm shift, because we're also dealing with alpha humans. So they want to do everything their way, right? They don't want to delegate. They don't want to work with other people. It's my way. All right. How's that working for you? All right. Tell me how that's working for you. Once my clients make this little bit of a shift, dude, their business is doubling. That's how I work with mostly, we had talked like Guardian advisors. So they're skyrocketing from a Leaders Club production to President's Council production, right? Which most of the people listening to this will understand what that means, right? So that is, one strategy, like you have to learn how to scale that way, right? Is replicate yourself for the model, but also delegate out to the things that you're not good at. Right. I'm only good at 1 or 2 things. I suck at everything else, but the 1 or 2 things I'm good at, I'm doing 90% of the time. Right. And so that's my philosophy.
No, it's great philosophy. We talk about it in Achieving Balance. Like we call it your work sweet spot. You talk about it, energy related activities, same concept. A lot of financial advisors, just to use the example, are not really advising. They are spending 70-60% of their time doing things like marketing and sales. And if that's the case, fantastic. Maybe your first delegation should be to someone who's actually doing the advising. Maybe hire an advisor. I know a lot of very successful financial advisors. I coach them who aren't really the CFP anymore, even though they have it, but they have outsourced that piece because they really enjoy the new relationships. Or maybe just running the business. So that D word, delegate, that is the most popular word on this show. I tell people, I got to keep it clean. It's a clean podcast, but that D word just keeps showing up every time. And, I think there's something to this. You either understand it or you don't. And I think most of my guests have mentioned it because they've either struggled with it, they're still struggling with it, or they've been able to figure it out. So I really appreciate just kind of that coalescence of ideas around what is it that you do best, that you love, like your energy related activity, your sweet spot, whatever you want to call it. Delegate all the other things to keep you there 80-90% of the time, that Pareto principle. It's been fantastic to get to know you on the show here today, Paul. If others agree and they like you and they want to hear more from you, where can they go? How do they get in touch with you, my friend?
Well, my email is my first initial, P, Melella, Melella, at empoweredmastery.com. I'm on LinkedIn, obviously. My website is empoweredmastery.com. I am on Facebook. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Instagram. Maybe I think Instagram, I got 2 channels. We have an Empowered Mastery channel. Then it might be under Master Paul Melella on Instagram, but LinkedIn, I'm under Paul Melella. Facebook, I'm under Paul Melella. And, most of the time you Google my name, I would believe that it would pop up and they can get a hold of me, right?
Yeah, we'll include those links here below for those.
Thank you.
Listening after, and definitely if this is something you agree with, I love talking to others who have found a different way to put the same principle into words, and I feel like that's what we've done today. We've been able to listen to a great, really advocate of balance in a way that makes sense to you. So I appreciate your thoughts today, Paul.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you for being on the show. Thank you for making it a great half hour of drive or listen, or if you're listening to 1.5 times speed, maybe you should slow it down right now.
We talk fast.
But we talk fast. But we appreciate you guys listening. Thank you for being here.
I appreciate you, sir. Thank you.
Yes, and those who have been flies on the wall, definitely like, subscribe, share with someone who needs this today. And until next time, remember, live life on purpose.